My name is Nakatsu with National University of Singapore. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the organizer for inviting me to this international symposium. For me, this is a very impressive place. I am a graduate of Kyoto University, so I have come back to my alma mater, and also right in the middle of the students' demonstration and the movement. I graduated from Kyoto University, and this building is renovated, but here in this place, we had a serious collective bargaining vis-a-vis a professor, a faculty, and also this is the place where I listened to Professor Yukawa, the first Japanese laureate in physics. And so I feel really impressed and moved that I am given this opportunity to speak as the last speaker for this symposium here in this important place for me. And so I think that my role is to give you a kind of a summary of a computer and a culture. I myself is in the field of areas related to entertainment. So I would like to take a look at this issue concerning culture and computing from entertainment point of view. Just about 1 month ago in Dubai, right before the crisis hit Dubai, I was invited to attend the World Economic Forum in Dubai. There were several concurrent sessions, and I had a chance to take part in entertainment session where I had a very interesting discussion with other participants. Now, entertainment and world. We tend to have the following discussion, that is, in developing countries, more than 1 billion people faced the risk of starvation, but in developed countries, people spend increasing time on entertainment activities. And with that dichotomy, the question we are often left is that all right? Don't we need to do anything about this? But from my perspective, I have a sense of discomfort when the discussion turns in such a manner. Unfortunately, I didn't have a power or persuasiveness to change the course of the whole discussion in the room, but perhaps being a Japanese, for part of the reason, I had a somewhat different point of view. In ancient past, let us all recall the ancient past. Our life, or our ancestors' life, was very simple. First, they have to survive, so hunting. That's one of the things our ancestors did. In the case of Japanese people, they planted rice and grew rice. So for them, survival was the top priority in their daily life. But when they are fed and they are full, they entertain themselves, dance and so forth. This is the cave in Altamira. They painted mural paintings like this one. And even today, we can see such simple life in one of the occasions. This is during the flight. And this is something which hit upon me when I was in the flight on the way to Japan. In the airplane, what we do is either we eat, sleep, or entertainment. For most of the people or passengers, very few do work. But the number of people who do work during the flight are on the decline. In the past, the business people were working even during the flight, but the number is much less. So we either sleep, eat, or entertain. And those are the three activities our ancestors did mostly in their daily life. And this is a very famous Nissan commercial film, catch copy, Eat, Sleep, and Play. Perhaps no one of the younger generation understands this, but this is exactly the same. So those three activities are very basic activities for the humankind. What does this all mean? In the antiquities, our ancestors' life was extremely simple, but then we have begun to add so many different kinds of activities, work and religious activities. But with that, entertainment, which had been an essential part of our ancestors' life, was more or less put on the back burner in the whole spectrum of our daily life. Then what is taking place today? IT is permeating throughout our life, and digital interactive media, which is also used as part of the name of the institution where I work, and the digital and interactive media have emerged as a new form of entertainment. And I found a very interesting photo of Mr. Obama. Mr. Obama is having a Wii gadget in his hand with such a serious face. If that is what he really is, perhaps he is looking always serious, even for a very small, stupid thing. So IT is creating a new form of entertainment, and that's what people say. And that is the kind of the world we are all coming to. But is it really true? Is this really something new as a phenomena? As was mentioned in other sessions, Renaissance has been a word which was sometimes referred to. And I think this is not really something new taking place. Rather, I would like to take this phenomenon today as a renaissance of entertainment. Now, let me summarize what I mentioned so far. Food, and of course to sleep. To eat is an activity which sustains our life as an organism. But then what about entertainment, as was the case in the ancient past? That is food for our mental life. Entertainment here means so many things which are very broad in the sense. Then entertainment is something which is really essential to our life. This is the schematic drawing what I'm trying to say. It's about the history of entertainment in ancient past. To eat or to sleep assured humankind physical sustainability, but at the same time, entertainment was a pillar to support the mental life of the humankind. And when these two are met, humankind was able to sustain their whole life. But then, so many elements were added to the people's life. This might sound like an extreme, but religion and art, education, and labor, those concepts emerged. And they were given more weight and importance, and perhaps, relatively speaking, entertainment faded away behind them. But once again, entertainment is gaining attention of the people today. And that is why I would like to call the phenomena today the renaissance of entertainment. Now, World Economic Forum in Dubai, I attended recently. This is the kind of a course of discussion I wanted to realize, but I was a minor in the discussion session. When we look at developing countries and developed countries, people often say that first we have to feed people. So assistance and aid to feed them, and then we have to provide education to the people in developing world. And this seems to be a very contemptuous attitude by the developed countries to the developing countries. In developing world, entertainment is a very important part of their life, but we seem to underestimate the importance of entertainment. On the other hand, we have continued to preach them about the importance of education, labor, and also, in some sense, religion. But they are not entertaining. They have been more or less preached about or imposed upon them as something they should do as the humankind of decency. But as I said, entertainment and other activities of the humankind, between them there aren't very clear-cut demarcation lines. We have tried to distinguish them, but again, the line between them is blurring. In that sense, for the people in the developing world, be it education or work or labor, they are something which are painful but should be done because they are the basic activities of the humankind. Rather than explaining in such a manner, they could be promoted as something which are more entertaining. And today at the institution where I work with India and Malaysia, they are geographically close to Singapore where I work. And so how a new media technology can be introduced to these neighboring countries has been a very important activity. And that idea about entertainment is something I try to incorporate when we do so. In a developed country like Japan, I believe that we are also faced with the same kind of question. As I said, recently we are seeing the rise of new forms of entertainment assisted by so-called media technology. But including information technology, IT, what new technologies have done are to reshape conventional entertainment. They only changed the cosmetics, but the essence of entertainment hasn't changed by IT. The same goes for communication. For most part, blog and Twitters, they are not really new at all. IT is just making such communication tools or communication methods available around the world through their power as technologies. Many kinds of new entertainments, such as games, I think they are now struggling. The software programs for such entertainment games are selling well, but the sales are now facing with difficulty for further increasing their sales. For instance, Wii is a great program and product developed by Nintendo, a Kyoto-based company. But their sales have become sluggish recently. After all of those who wanted to buy have bought them, and what we gives us is not an opportunity to really exercise with the body, but it's a kind of simulated experience of exercise. But it has never gone over the joy of being engaged in the real physical sports. Not just for we, but the new forms of entertainment activities, I think, have faced with the difficulty of attaining a further growth. And I think this is also a evidence of the need to look at the entertainment once again. And so one way is to do as follows. Coming back to the question in developing countries, I think we need to once again learn from them what is the form of entertainment they enjoy. Not just for entertainment, but communication and the society as a whole are changing very dramatically today, and I don't have time to broaden my topic, so please allow me to go on with this line of thinking regarding the question of entertainment. And what is taking place for entertainment is really essential, as I said. What does it mean? Many parts of our life have become a kind of entertainment. For instance, you may work like an entertainment. and you try to enjoy education with more fun, make it more enjoyable and fun. And for communications, in the past, the business communications was the main kind of communications, but today communications are incorporating increasing elements of entertainment. And I think this is a very fundamental change taking place. But maybe I have gone too much, but logos and pathos, two sides of the humankind, and I think these two sides are approaching to each other very rapidly, and they may merge with each other at the end of the day. And when I look at what is taking place in the field of entertainment, that is the kind of projection I tend to have for the future. Now, Plato. Well, I am now into Plato's philosophy today. I read him a lot recently. And he compared a human being to a carriage with two horses and one operator or one driver. This is a very famous phrase he said. The driver can be likened to a logos of a humankind, and a horse represents a pathos. And there are two horses, and one of them represents a bright side of pathos, which is a passion or creativity, such as an artistic creativity. The other one, unfortunately, represents a dark side of human passion, which is instinctive desire. And logos is regarded something which human intellectual should try to pursue. On the other hand, a passion, which is a good side of pathos, is an important source of artistic creativity. So it has a very positive role to play. What about instinctive desire? That is something to be suppressed as much as possible. And by and large, logos should be able to control two sides of pathos, especially the dark side, so that human acts will be steered into the appropriate direction. And that was considered an ideal form, the way a human being should be, according to Plato's thinking. In Western tradition, how to nurture a logos of a human being, I think, had been a mainstream idea in Western thinking tradition. On the other hand, pathos, which is closely linked with artistic creativity, which is very important and essential. On the other hand, the instinctive desire, greed for food, and greed for money, and those are not desirable. How to suppress them has been emphasized. Then logos and pathos, when we divide our life into two parts, into the official domain and private domain, maybe logos has more to do with the official domain of our daily life, and pathos to more private, personal domain. And how to draw a line between the two has been what the people have tried to emphasize so far. In Japanese, we often say honne, which is a formal, official opinions, and tatemae is more or less a private, honest thinking. But that is not limited to Japanese. I think anyone in the world has two sides to the opinion, but the Japanese tend to mix up these two. This is former Prime Minister Aso, and in the formal Diet the Congress session, he said that I was actually personally opposed to a former Prime Minister Koizumi's idea for post office reform, and that really decreased his popularity level in Japan. But we cannot speak ill of Prime Minister Aso because in our daily life, I think there are many more occasions where the honne and tatemae, formal and informal domains, are mixed up together. Today, not just Japanese, but all the people take photos anywhere they go. That's one example of mixing up the formal and informal, and also in meetings, participants always check whether they have received the email or not. And so in such a formal occasion like a meeting, they spend some minutes on a private activity. So this is another confusion or mixing up of the formal and private. Why does this take place? If you look at the history of media, there have been two great inventions, letters and printing technology. I think they have more or less enhanced logos aspect of a human being. In the previous session, the renaissance of visual media in the 19th century was discussed, and I thought that that line of idea really agrees with my thinking, which really encouraged me. The invention of cinema and invention of telephone in the previous century, I think, was the whole starting point of mixing up formal and private, or logos and pathos. Cinema is a visual. Cinema, the visual media, was brought forward into the core of our life with the emergence of cinema, although the people's life were very much text-based. And also, telephone allowed people to incorporate more personal feelings into communications which were more official in the past. And so, logos and pathos. The humankind had tried so hard to separate between the two, but now these two are approaching with each other in two aspects. There are two things we can say clearly. On one hand, what is Western and what is Eastern, especially human behaviors. People tend to think that these two areas, Western and Eastern behaviors, are quite different. But actually, the Westerners and Eastern people have begun to behave more or less in the same manner. And I think this seems to suggest that our behaviors are going backward to the days of ancient times. So let me summarize. The logos and pathos approaching with each other. And I think this is what is taking place in the form of globalization. And I think this merger between the logos and pathos is another name of globalization. And as I mentioned, we are going backward to the days of ancient times. Then the 21st century might become the era of chaos. And today, futuristic studies are not very popular. Maybe that is because it is so hard to expect what it's going to be like in the future. Now, at the end, before I conclude, I would like to mention culture. Rather than worrying over, I think we need to learn from history, especially the time when logos and pathos were still integral parts of the whole. I think we need to learn from that time. In the case of Western world, that is the era of Homer and Odyssey. And for Japan, somewhat later in the Heian period, if we read the world depicted in the Tales of Genji, referred to by Professor Tosa, perhaps we can see what the world and daily life was like when logos and pathos were together. I don't think we can disinvent IT technology, but I think we need to perhaps look back upon such stages in the history to consider how cultural computing can help us in trying to deal with such a trend like approach or merger between logos and pathos. And Professor Tosa also mentions issues of this kind in her books, and her books are really interesting. I encourage you to read some of the books Professor Tosa has written. And so I am an engineer, but didn't talk about science at all. Thank you very much for your kind attention.